There are places on Earth that do not appear on travel brochures, places where maps fade into guesses and warnings replace directions, and this jungle is one of them. Long before satellites traced its canopy and explorers tried to document its borders, locals whispered a simpler truth: you do not enter this jungle and return the same. What follows is not folklore meant to scare children, but a collection of disturbing realities that earned this forest a reputation so dangerous that even governments quietly avoid it. Before we go any further, take a moment to subscribe to this channel, because the stories you're about to hear are not recycled myths, but carefully researched narratives revealing truths most people never hear. This jungle, known among nearby villages as a no-return forest, sits in a region officially classified as restricted land, yet no single law explains why. It is forbidden because history itself learned to stay away. Expeditions dating back centuries tell a repeating story: experienced trackers losing their sense of direction within hours, compasses spinning uselessly as if confused by something unseen, and seasoned survivalists reporting a strange pressure in the air, as though the jungle itself was aware of being observed. One documented expedition entered with modern equipment, satellite phones, drones, and military-grade navigation tools, yet within 3 days, all transmissions stopped abruptly, not gradually, not due to weather interference, but as if someone flipped a switch. When a rescue team later reached the last known coordinates, they found tents still standing, food untouched, boots neatly placed outside sleeping bags. No signs of struggle, no blood, no footprints leading away, just silence so heavy it reportedly caused physical discomfort. Biologists studying the area noticed another anomaly: animal behavior that defies known survival instincts, with predators abandoning kills mid-feed and prey species freezing instead of fleeing, as if something larger disrupted the natural hierarchy. Plants here grow unusually dense, interlocking in ways that block sunlight entirely, creating zones where daytime visibility feels like dusk, and within these zones, sound behaves unnaturally. Voices echo when they shouldn't. Footsteps vanish, and sometimes travelers hear their own names whispered in familiar tones, a psychological phenomenon so consistent that researchers eventually stopped dismissing it as stress-induced hallucination. Ancient tribal records describe the jungle not as hostile, but selective, claiming it tests intention, allowing some to pass unharmed while others are quietly erased, a belief reinforced by modern data showing survival rates that appear statistically random yet eerily consistent with tribal warnings. Satellite imagery reveals areas where vegetation forms near-perfect circular clearings with no apparent cause, no fire damage, no human interference, just sudden absences in a forest otherwise aggressively alive. Military archives, partially declassified decades later, reference training units sent near the perimeter who reported time distortion, with patrols lasting hours that internal logs later recorded as days, a discrepancy never officially explained. One soldier described the feeling as being watched without being seen, a sensation echoed by explorers centuries apart, suggesting something deeply embedded in the environment rather than imagination. Even insects behave differently here. Swarms move in synchronized patterns that resemble intentional signals rather than instinctive movement, and nocturnal sounds abruptly stop at certain hours, plunging the forest into a silence so complete it triggers panic responses in humans accustomed to constant jungle noise. The most unsettling detail, however, is not disappearance, but return, because some people do come back, and when they do, they refuse to speak, exhibiting symptoms ranging from total muteness to extreme paranoia, often drawing the same symbol repeatedly without knowing why. Doctors and psychologists examining these survivors found no consistent trauma trigger, yet all shared one experience: the sense that the jungle noticed them. Over time, Governments quietly classified the region as environmentally unstable, not due to toxins or disease, but due to unpredictable human impact outcomes, a vague phrase masking the truth that no authority could control what happened inside. Tourism boards removed references, maps were subtly altered, and the jungle slipped into obscurity, surviving not as a destination, but as a warning. And this is only the surface, because what truly makes this jungle forbidden is not what happens when you enter, but what follows those who leave, an unsettling pattern we will uncover in Part 2, where the jungle's influence extends far beyond its borders. What most people never realize is that the jungle's story does not end at its edges, because the most disturbing evidence suggests it doesn't want to be left behind. Survivors who managed to exit reported a recurring phenomenon in the weeks that followed. Dreams so vivid they felt like continuations rather than memories, featuring paths they never walked and clearings they never saw, as if the jungle was finishing a conversation interrupted by escape. Researchers tracking post-expedition psychological effects noticed something chilling. Subjects showed increased spatial awareness paired with heightened paranoia, frequently checking shadows, windows, and reflections, convinced they were being observed despite no external threat. In multiple cases, individuals reported hearing jungle sounds, distant insects, rustling leaves, while living thousands of miles away in urban environments, and audio recordings confirmed faint but unexplainable background noise matching species native only to that region. Even more unsettling were the physical changes. Unexplained scars appearing overnight, abnormal plant pollen found embedded in skin tissue weeks after exposure, and immune responses reacting as if the body was still inside the environment. One former botanist documented that houseplants near survivors began growing at accelerated rates, with root systems spreading aggressively as if mimicking jungle behavior, a detail dismissed publicly but quietly logged by environmental agencies. The jungle's forbidden status deepened when long-term satellite monitoring detected subtle but consistent expansion, not in size but in density, as if it were compressing inward while simultaneously pushing outward, defying known growth patterns. Indigenous elders warned researchers that the forest learns, adapting to intrusion not through violence but familiarity, absorbing human presence and replicating it in subtle ways. This belief gained traction when trail cameras placed at fixed locations began capturing distorted images, figures shaped like humans but composed entirely of foliage, appearing only once before never being recorded again. Official explanations cited equipment malfunction, yet identical anomalies appeared across different brands and locations. Governments eventually ceased funding research entirely, citing environmental risk, though leaked documents suggest the true concern was behavioral unpredictability rather than physical danger. What terrified authorities was not death, but influence, the possibility that prolonged exposure altered cognition in ways that could not be reversed or controlled. Linguists studying survivor speech patterns found borrowed syntax resembling ancient dialects spoken by tribes near the jungle, despite survivors never interacting with them, suggesting unconscious absorption rather than learning. The most chilling discovery came from comparative timelines. Historical accounts from centuries ago described identical symptoms, symbols, and post-return behaviors, meaning this was not a modern reaction to stress, but a consistent outcome across eras. This realization forced a difficult conclusion. The jungle was not cursed, haunted, or supernatural in the way fiction suggests, but functionally intelligent in its impact, capable of imprinting itself onto those who enter. By the time this understanding emerged, it was too late. The jungle had already secured its reputation as forbidden, not because it kills indiscriminately, but because it leaves traces that never fully fade. Today, warning signs stand at its borders, not describing danger, but advising absence, and locals no longer speak of the jungle as a place, but as a presence, one that waits patiently, knowing human curiosity always returns. The scariest fact, then, is not that this jungle hides something unknown, but that it has already studied us, measured us, and decided that the greatest threat is not what we might take from it, but what it might quietly place inside us and send back into the world, unnoticed, unchanged on the surface, yet never entirely free.